Shalom. Greetings to you all. You know what? What a 2026 this may become. It's only just begun. We face a potential remaking of the world. I don't think it could get any worse. Venezuela is about to become an oil field again. And reverse a quarter century of failed Marxist dictatorship from the bus driver who took over from the former despot who destroyed the most vibrant economy of South America with once the fourth highest GDP in the world. Did it in record time. Now, the world used to condemn dictators like this. Now it seems to love them. Now, the haters and anti-Semites of Europe who thought that they had control of everything, particularly the failed British, German, and French, who've managed to erase 1,000-year histories and cultures in a generation, have seen the hottest economy of Europe fly past them while sleeping, and it kills them. The economy of Italy, a not too long ago basket case of a nation, who many bet would have been the first economy to fail completely, hated for its conservative female prime minister, who at one point would have been hailed by women everywhere, is the best economy of Europe by far. We can't certainly have a conservative woman be the best, can we? Nor can we possibly have a country that wants to reestablish its borders and immigration and culture. It's not a very good sharing with the have-nots who simply want everyone to have not. Yes, it is an interesting time of the year. It just began, but you can almost feel the days getting just a little bit longer. In our search for light, we have found it. We could celebrate its return every day. It's a little more than a minute of extra light. Now, this is also the time of the year when much larger change is written on the horizon. It's when the World Economic Forum meets in Davos, Switzerland. Coming up this year on the 19th of January, and we will be inundated with reports about how much more carbon emissions there are. But, of course, the emissions from the private jets are good, while the 12-year life of the Earth being finished, which was promised back in 2016, has only 2 years left on its doomsday clock. So we're really toast now. And new suggestions for life will be forthcoming. How lucky in this world of mass communication that globalization can be so easily spread like the fire in Pacific Palisades. Pay no attention to the rebuilding schedule as we disseminate new ideas in unison before they're even formed yet. I remember when I was asked to participate and speak there a number of years ago. It's too bad my suggestions were not implemented. I thought they were pretty good, but they were very inexpensive to implement. Apparently far too inexpensive, but an opportunity I was truly thankful for. How awesome to see two incredibly diverse views of the world on a collision course, one for the people, one for the self, and it's all taking place right now. And remember, friends, we're a month away from the Chinese New Year, the ever-loving, ever-fast-moving horse this year. After 2 days in the desert sun, my skin began to turn red. 3 days in the desert fun, I was looking at a riverbed, and the story it told of a river that flowed made me sad to think it was dead. See, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. Good to be out in the rain, in the desert. I can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain. Now, we are going to be reading in a new book that we're going to start today, all about deserts and all about names. Now, it's a much more complex book than Genesis was. Genesis was about origins. Exodus is about resolution, the attempt to return to perfection. But it's not a complete story. It's a journey through a desert, through a wilderness. And in the wilderness, names really aren't that important. We're also only 2.5 weeks from Holocaust Remembrance Day. Every year it's held on January 27th because that is the day of the liberation of Auschwitz by the Red Army. Never again? Never again? No, not never again. This was once a day with meaning, but now we have opened the doors and invited open season on the Jews in every corner of the world, including New York, Toronto, and every capital of Europe. We have to celebrate the opportunity to welcome change, but we can recognize good change from bad. Italy recognized bad and chose to embrace good. We have a chance to celebrate our coming together. We have a chance to support the people who really need support. It's like when we all come together every week as a like-minded group, because we honor and pray and observe as a community. We accept everybody, all beliefs, no beliefs. We accept all love. We don't distinguish, because we are a true fellowship as we express our nature of kindness, compassion, thoughts, feelings, hopes, dreams, and wishes, because that's what unites us all in this community house of spirit, Beth Ruach. Because we share and we bring light, we keep fear at bay. And even though together we're all individual in our approach, everybody prays their own way. Everybody connects in his or her or their own way. So once again, please do go ahead and invite everybody you know, whether it's physically, digitally, psychically, emotionally, spiritually, any way at all. We can all gather and we can share. It doesn't have to be distinctions. From Psalm 133, the Hine Matov, come together. Hine Matov, Shevet Avita, Hine Matov, Shevet Avita. How good and pleasant it is for brothers and sisters together. Community. 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 Together. Now we support everybody in our community. Let's all spread love, goodwill, and fellowship to the world. Remember, friends, this is you setting aside a little bit of sacred time in your own sacred space to honor and converse with whatever you happen to believe in, because we all believe in something. That's a part of your intention, your Kavana that you put out to the universe. It's your goodwill. And goodwill and intention are the roots of what you control, of what you can correct. It is your intention that sets in motion everything that occurs in your lives, my friends. And it's goodwill, it's energy, it's light that we send out to help heal whoever we know that needs it. Healing and renewal is for everybody. Flows through space, finding those in need. So send it out for those you know and for the souls and spirits of everybody you love. So think of whoever that needs healing and renewal and love or just plain goodwill. Focus on them. Call their names. It's not just for people. It is for our pets. It's for the earth. It is for the healing of the world. The Tikkun Olam. It's a part of our spiritual genetic makeup. And a part of the healing of the world is when we send thoughts and energy for health and renewal and goodwill for everybody. They don't have to be sick. It's for those in our hearts and our minds. So let's all send energy out for people in need everywhere. Special thoughts and prayers always for those in need of assistance. We pray for those who need prayer. We don't have to know them because we want health, recovery, good life for everybody around us, for those close to us. For the fairy godmother, who's given a clear choice, stay in emotional distress or enter a love of life and joy. But change like that takes courage. And things that seem so obvious are not always easy. We like easy. For Alan and Corey, Sherry. For Laura and the gang. For Gabe. For Clever Carson. For my dear friend Martin. For the MW and Snoopy. For the Elf. For Roberta and Ruth. For Shelley. For Connie and Ronnie. For my Leos. For Tally and Maya, for Danny and Nina, for Dale and Stephen, for all those suffering and in need. Let's not forget to include the familiars of our lives, my friends, all of our sacred animal friends everywhere. For everybody you know in need, and for the whole world, and for dear Devorah. We pray for those who need prayer, because the world needs prayer now. It is the kindness, the healing wishes, goodwill, and love we all send out. It just circles the world, finding those in need. So thank you, each of you, for all you do, for all you care. Because the world is a world of spirit. Spirit, my friends, never dies. Me, Shemot, Evocated, Makor HaBracha, Levocated, may the source of strength bless the words before us. Help us find the courage. Make our lives a blessing. The renewal of body. The renewal of spirit. Let us say, Amen. Misha Baruch, let us all have our spirits renewed. This is the great prayer for healing, which we call upon God to heal as He has healed before. Misha Baruch, may He who blessed, because all healing's a blessing. Let's all send and receive healing and renewal energy in our efforts to share, to care, to grow, to love. We've reached the turning point in the Torah, my friends. We're starting a new book. We call it Exodus, but whose name is really Shemot, the names, the book of names. It's actually a brilliant title for what we have always called Exodus. We're about to be directed, or perhaps misdirected, to something we take for granted. We will now be propelled into a new place, a new time, with all the familiarity of the past now gone. No idea how things developed because we weren't party to any of it. None of it's explained. We entered our DeLorean and we initiated the flux capacitor, and it's now taken us into the future in the blink of an eye. This book is going to open telling us all the people we knew are dead. But their death did not bring an end. Life encompasses us all. It's an ongoing process. The book of Exodus tells the story of the birth of a nation. Born in slavery, held in fear, which many, this 3,000 odd years later, are still imprisoned in. And it ends with the nation's establishment of its own center, its own leaders, its own symbols and freedom. Now, Genesis took us on a journey of narrowing our attention from the universe to the earth to humanity to a particular family. Exodus begins to broaden the circumference of attention again as the family grows into a nation and comes into conflict with another nation. Exodus introduces nationhood, prophecy, law, but most important of all, it introduces the theme of God becoming known to the world. He'd previously been known only to a handful of people. And all of this is done under the auspices of names. And we all have them. They're so important. Often given to us before birth, rarely self-chosen. Our names, from cradle to grave, can often define us. Say a name, memory comes flooding, or imagination can take root. Like the pine trees lining the winding road, I got a name. I got a name. Like the singing bird and the croaking toad, I got a name. I got a name. We all have a name. This book is now opened 400 years in the future. We're witnessing the unfolding of a great story, and like in every great story, there are common elements. There's a protagonist, an antagonist. There's a main character. And like in every classic Greek play, the Deus ex machina, who controls everything and everyone. Who is the protagonist? Who's the antagonist? Who's actually the main character? It's not always the protagonist, and it's not so easily seen in this play that's going to be acted out. Most of the time, the protagonist is good and the antagonist is evil, and therefore there is conflict. And it is the conflict that strikes at us and engages us. It's not always the case, but it is how we are programmed to see things. If you ask, Most people will say the protagonist in Exodus is Moses. The antagonist, Pharaoh. Well, does this also make Moses the main character? Not necessarily. The interplay between these two makes them very equal in impact. Exodus 1:8. And a new king rose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. There are 5 pharaohs named in the Torah. I won't say named, it's just 5 pharaohs put in the Torah. The pharaoh who thought Sarah was Abraham's sister. The pharaoh who knew Joseph. The pharaoh who did not know Joseph. The pharaoh who sought to kill Moses, who may or may not be the same pharaoh who did not know Joseph. And the pharaoh of the Exodus. Why are none of their names given? We'd like to know. If we know the names, it makes something concrete. If we don't know the names, it makes their allegory much more powerful, and the impact goes beyond mere history. Exodus 1:13. And Egypt made the children of Israel serve with harshness, and they made their lives bitter with hard work, with mortar and with bricks, and with all the work in the field. All their work that they did for them with harshness. The description of the treatment of the people will come up over and over again and be featured very specifically during the High Holy Days. Now, the Israelites are becoming a more numerous group, and so the decision is made to kill the babies. When you deliver the Hebrew women, you look at the 2 stones. If it's a boy, then kill him. If it's a girl, then she'll live. This is the setup for the birth and hiding of Moses, which was very much based on the Mesopotamian Sargon birth legend, with a few twists. And just as in the tradition of the ancient Near East and elsewhere, the future hero was threatened with death by the evil king, is saved by being hidden and then rescued. So while the book is about the formation of a people, it's all through the eyes of one man, Moses. A man who remains somewhat distant from us, that we never get the sense of intimate acquaintance with his inner life, with his family, with his relationships, and his distinctive traits of personality that we are so memorably afforded in the stories of Jacob and Joseph. We are observing a people who have fallen into a complete state of slavery, with freedom just a memory. I was born here, and I'll die here, against my will. Though it looks like I'm moving, but I'm standing still. Every nerve in my body is so vacant and numb. Can't even remember what it was I came to get away from. Don't even hear the murmur of a prayer. Not dark yet, but it's getting there. And of course, for those who have read it, and I've talked about it before, and I'll talk about it again, you may recognize the Nobel poet borrowed the first line from the Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of the Father. And boy, did it get dark, and it's getting quite dark again. Exodus 2:3. She was not able to conceal him anymore. She took an ark made of bulrushes for him and smeared it with bitumen, with pitch, and put the boy in it, put it in the reeds by the bank of the Nile. We're now getting the backstory to where we are. The scene has been painted, Exodus 2:1. And a man from the house of Levi went and took a daughter of Levi, and the woman became pregnant, gave birth to a son. She's not able to conceal him anymore. As the Bee would say, this thing we call an ark was a box, a tava. The exact same word for the craft Noah was in. The only 2 times that word is used in the Bible, connecting 2 very distinct and different types of crafts. We think of Noah in a boat, we think of Moses in a basket. Both were united in their position of being examples of faith, Moses had no more ability to control where the basket would go than Moa did where the bigger basket would go. Both were at the whim of God, steered by fate, or for those who prefer, by the universe. So those words are connected. It's the same word. So those two craft were the same kind of craft. One was just a smaller version. Now it's an English word used for housing the Torah also, but the ark that holds the Torah is a different word in Hebrew and a different kind of box. Now, we're told Pharaoh's daughter finds him and that Moses' own sister, who was watching from the side, offered to get someone to nurse the child. So she got the baby's own mother. It would now be paid by Pharaoh's daughter to wean the child. Exodus 2:10. And the boy grew older. She brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She called his name Moses, and she said, because I drew him from the water. Now, the story is incredibly similar to a Mesopotamian story, the legend of Sargon, first ruler of an empire found in Assyrian and Babylonian text, in which a priestess places her infant son in a basket of rushes, with pitch on its exterior, and casts him in the river, and a water drawer retrieves the baby and rears him as his son. This and other literary parallels to the birth account of Moses suggest how perplexing the biblical story is and how influenced the Bible was by life in exile. Sigmund Freud, in his brilliant study of Moses, and it is a brilliant study of Moses and of man, observed that such stories generally involve 3 steps. A child is born of noble or royal lineage. The child comes to be brought up as a commoner. The child grows up and eventually arrives back at his rightful place in a royal house. We see that played out in many of the fairy tales we all grew up with. This story, however, is the opposite. What's fascinating is even learned people often recall the story out of order, imagining Pharaoh's daughter naming Moses as she draws him from the water, but she does not in fact name him until after he has grown and his mother brings him back to her. So what was he called until that time? This has to be 2 to 4 years later. What was his name? Classical and recent commentators have not addressed this. Now, Moses did not mean drawn from water. That was a stretch. Moses was an Egyptian name given to many pharaohs because it meant true son, and it was used to delineate royal order and rightfulness. We know so little about him. We're told he killed an Egyptian and fled. Myth tells us it is because he found out he was Hebrew and interceded in an unjust event. That's Midrash, feeding a narrative. Highly unlikely, but a great story in which a hero arises. He is seen as the true patriarch of the religion. He is the father of monotheism. He will introduce God to the world and a system of spirituality still practiced today. Perhaps he was the world's first superhero, but he was a complete unknown. You're a man in the mountain. You can walk on clouds, manipulate the crowds. You're a dream twister. You go to Sodom and Gomorrah. What do you care? Ain't nobody there would want to marry your sister. Scratching the world with a fine-tooth comb. You're a king of nations. You're a stranger at home. And Moses was a stranger at home. Crosses the desert. He comes to Midian, where he performs the betrothal ritual, not for one, but for 7 daughters of Jethro. Exodus 2:16. And a priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock, and the shepherds came and drove them away. And Moses got up and saved them and watered their flock. And they came to Reuel, their father, and he said, why are you so quick to come today? And they said, an Egyptian man rescued us from the shepherd's hand, and he drew water for us, and watered the flocks too. And he said to his daughters, where is he? why is this that you've left the man? Call him. Let him eat bread. And Moses was content to live with the man, and he gave Zipporah, his daughter, to Moses. So Moses finds this new life here. He gets married. He settles in Midian. What do we know here? Well, we still don't know a lot. We know the air is clean in the mountains. He has a good life. But we don't know this man's real name. We don't know Pharaoh's name. The man we are told is named Jethro is suddenly called Ruel. So maybe we don't really know his name either. In this, my friends, the book of names. So while we don't know a lot, we do know his wife and son's names. And we are told the king of Egypt died, and we never knew his name. Exodus 3:1. And Moses had been shepherding the flocks of Jethro, his father-in-law, priest of Midian, drove the flock far side of the wilderness, and he came to the mountain of God, to Horeb. Now we know Ruel is Jethro, and Sinai is Horeb, right? So they have multiple names. This book of names is full of all interchangeable names. Why are names so important? Well, names define history. They tell us when, and they tell us where. We were initially told there's a new king who did not know Joseph. We don't know who that new king is. There are 5 pharaohs, none are named. Now, I've suggested in the past that Pharaoh's not named because that would define him and make him a very specific individual, the when and the where, and take away from his representing fear and slavery, which is what Pharaoh was actually all about. And the calling card of the God of Exodus is now going to be revealed. It is flame. It draws Moses. And it begins the revelation at the Epiphany of Sinai. Moses sees the burning bush. Everything now is going to be connected to fire. Exodus 3:2. And an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a fire's flame from inside a bush. And he looked, and here, the bush was burning in the fire. The bush was not consumed. And Moses said, let me turn and see the great sight. Why doesn't the bush burn? The Lord saw that he turned to see, and God called to him from inside the bush, and he said, Moses, Moses. And he said, I am here. Here we go, my friends. The double name calling tells us there is a life-defining moment coming. And now go. And I'll send you to Pharaoh and bring up my people, the children of Israel from Egypt. And Moses said to God, here, I'm coming to the children of Israel, and I'll say to them, your father's God sent me to you. And they'll say to me, what's his name? What shall I say to them? And God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, you shall say this to the children of Israel. I am has sent me to you. I am is a very nice poetic way to describe God's name. God tells Moses his name. It's a first-person verb, but when Moses tells the people, he has to make it a third-person verb. Like he, his name, not I, my name. Right? And we know the name is the 4-letter name, Yod-He, Vav-He, which translates properly as he that causes to be. The book of names has given us one name that counts. God tells his plan. He's sending Moses to speak to Pharaoh, but it is God, not Pharaoh, who won't let the people go. But Moses doesn't want this job. Moses said to the Lord, please, my Lord, I'm not a man of words, neither yesterday nor the day before, nor since you spoke to your servant, because I'm heavy of mouth, and heavy of tongue. Now, this is frequently taken to mean he had some sort of a speech defect. Now, one of my favorite midrashim, explanation stories, tells us that as a baby growing up in the palace, Moses was offered a chance to reach for either burning hot coal or the crown. And he was reaching for the crown. And an angel moved his hand to the coal, and he burned himself and put his hand in his mouth and burned his mouth, and therefore he had a speech impediment. I love that story. It ranks up there with Abraham and his working at the idol store, and Jacob and Leah. Remember, we seek similar word usage for biblical meaning. And sure enough, heavy of tongue is used in the Bible. And it always refers to foreign language. So is it possible instead that Moses needed Aaron to speak to the elders because he did not know Hebrew? He did not speak their language. He spoke Egyptian. Exodus 4:19. And God said to Moses in Midian, go back to Egypt, because all the people who sought your life have died. And the Lord said to Moses, when you're going to go back to Egypt, see all the wonders that I've set in your hand, you shall do them in front of Pharaoh. And I'll strengthen his heart, and he won't let the people go. God just gave incredible information. And next week, the real dialogue begins. But you ask anybody, and they will tell you, Pharaoh wouldn't let the people go. Yes, my friends, the world is sacred. So is everything in it. Express your gratitude, light a candle, make a wish. Celebrate your life and the lives of those you love. Share your feelings with them. Live free, be free, honor your freedom. Be well, be happy, be blessed. Share and honor the light, and all who live in the light and continue to shine. Continue to send everybody you know goodwill and love. Pray for peace and freedom for everyone, and end to terror and hatred. Remember, we're a community. We learn together, we celebrate with each other, we love each other. We share this ride together, men and women equally. Let's all send out love, not fear. Send out peace, harmony, goodwill, and healing to all who need it. And please do. Learn to forgive and learn to love, including yourself. Open your hearts and honor the relationships of your life, and tell those you love that you do love them. Examine your intentions. Use them to imprint your will on the universe, because we set in motion all that happens in our lives. It's our intention, our Kavanaugh, our cause, our effect. Everything is linked. You always have time to forgive and to be forgiven. You do have the knowledge of what's good and bad, so acknowledge what you have done wrong to yourself, to God, to any person you've wronged. Ask forgiveness, but always do so with sincerity, with accountability, with vulnerability. Forgive those who have hurt you as you learn to be forgiving and compassionate, because the secret of forgiveness, compassion, and peace is in acceptance. Can you accept yourself, other people in the world just as it is? Can you accept life as it is without trying to control it? Because if you do, you can accept all of the peace that acceptance brings. Just keep on dreaming, my friends. Keep on being. Keep sharing. Keep shining. Keep teaching above all. Keep spreading joy and goodwill. Do not follow fear. Follow love. Always in front of you. I work to be present in the body. Expand your heart. Quiet your mind. Because the real source of power lies in your consciousness and your ability to be mindful, to be aware, to be present in all of life's circumstances. Love with the heart, because we're all part of a greater whole. Embrace love, not fear. Forgiveness, not anger. Be there for someone, because someone will always be there for you. Continue to explore faith and belief and what they mean to you and you alone, and never accept shame as a natural state, because whatever you feel, others have felt. Whatever you've experienced, others have too. We share together. We learn together. We help each other, because we're each of us just simply trying to find love and acceptance and support. We all have or could have that special someone in our lives, so find them. Tell them what they mean, because you're never alone on your journey. Listen to the voice of God as he talks to you. And remember, your connection to God and all that he has created, body and soul, and spirit and mind, it's a part of you, it's a part of me, it's a part of all of us forever. We have now entered a very new world. We've met a very new individual through whose eyes this entire story will now take place. And we will never know his name, but we have been introduced to God, whose name we learn and then never use again. You know my name. Look up the number. You know my name. Look up the number. You know my name. You know my name. You know my name. Look up my number. God does know your name, my friend. He knows every one of your names. And you know God's number. Thank you for joining me. Shabbat Shalom and blessings to you all. And we'll see you next week. You take care. Bye.